All right. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're watching. This is Brave and Faithful Podcast. Today we'll be doing something different. Um, I'm going to be your guest host, and I'll be interviewing Mr. Reden Dionisio over here, who usually is the one that does this stuff. But today we're going to flip the script a little bit. A little bit about me. I'm Louie. Um, Louie Maneja. I used to be a corpsman. I actually served with Mr. Dionisio right there. Um, we used to serve in 1-7 together. Right now, I'm working at Paris Island as a GS employee. Um, and right now I'll be your host for today. And
What's
welcome,
going on,
Mr.
bro?
Dionisio. What's going on? What's up, bro?
What up, man? Hey, thanks for doing this, man.
Yeah.
This for those listening in, this will be the 100th episode of the podcast, and
Yes.
definitely want to do something different. Bring in a friend of mine who I've known for, you know, since our first duty station back in 2004,
Yeah. Oh
right around
04.
04.
Yeah.
So I've known
Early
this
04.
I've known this dude for like 18 years. So I just wanted to bring him back, be the special guest or special host for this
Yeah.
special
Yeah.
occasion. So I appreciate it, man.
Yeah, man, no problem. So I guess we'll get into it. So go ahead and introduce yourself, just in case people don't know who you are.
Yeah. So like Louis mentioned, so Porter Set Fidelis, owner, founder, um, making memorial coins for families of the fallen, and then also the host of this podcast, Brave and Faithful Podcast. I've been doing it for about 2 years, over 2 years or so. Um, and I still active duty, still serving in the Navy as a Navy chief, stationed out here in the East Coast. Almost there. 18 years, 18 plus years serving. So almost at the end there.
Oh, lifer,
Yeah.
man.
Who'd have thunk, right?
Wouldn't know, man. Like back in the day, I wouldn't have pegged you to like stay in that long, but here you are, man. You're so close.
Yeah, back in the day, we were doing deployments one after the other, right? And
Yeah.
we didn't really, at least for me, I didn't really think about, going past my first enlistment, honestly. But 18 plus years later, and here we are.
Cool. So what duty station did you say you were now? You say you're in the East Coast.
Yeah, so right now with Second Marine Division out here in Camp Lejeune or Camp Lejeune, North Carolina.
Lejeune.
Yeah.
Second Mardiv.
Yep. Going
Um,
going back full cycle,
yeah.
back as
How
as
you
a chief now.
how you liking it? How you liking it this stage? This
Yeah,
stage in
yeah.
your career, you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's definitely different, just like different perspective. Um, back as an HN, you didn't we all there's different responsibilities, right? Now as a chief, being at the regiment, battalion level, it's obviously there's leadership there, where you're taking care of not just yourself, but also hundreds of sailors that are under you, and taking care of them however that may be, right? Just anywhere. any
Yeah.
that can mean anything in many different ways, but yeah.
Yeah. So um as a leader now, I know like when we served, it was like during the GWAT era. So um and a lot of times, back then it's like as a HN or E3 and below, E4 and below, you can't really, you're kind of like disconnected from what the higher ups are doing.
Mm.
But now you're in that position, you know? So what have you implemented I guess, from your experiences as a HN to now, what are you doing differently that you witnessed, back then, and then what are you doing now to correct it, or something you kept maybe
Yeah,
to lead your sailors?
that's a good question. I mean, you mentioned back in our era, the GWAT era. Well, I mean, like at least through my experience, right? And I don't know if that could be the same for you, but we didn't really get much passed down or communication brought down to our level, right? The lower level. So, and then also, not to say that I had, just bad leadership, but I mean, I did have some good leaders, but you also learn from the bad ones as well, right?
Yes.
Things that you shouldn't do or shouldn't implement, and that was one of the things I carried with me. Like um, if I ever made it to the senior enlisted or become a chief or whatnot, like I know not to do that. So one of the things I always try to do is just try to keep my sailors informed as much as I can with the information that have that at that time, and then just making sure they're in the loop. The biggest thing is, I'm sure is communication is always an issue, and sometimes when you pass word down to your first class or second class, um, that word doesn't really, it's not the same word that gets passed down to the
Yeah.
lower enlisted, right? So yeah, just having that FaceTime with them, even if it's just it's informal, just talking to them one-on-one, seeing how they're doing, not just professionally, but also on a personal level, because you also want to know what motivates these sellers, like what's their why, like family issues, whatever that may be outside of work. Those are the things that you have to be an engaged leader. Intrusive leadership is what they call it, just to make sure that you're well informed on each of your sailor.
Say that again. True what leadership?
Intrusive leadership. So
Intrusive
yeah,
leadership.
yeah,
Okay.
just continually just ask them questions and see how they're doing outside of work.
Yeah. It's funny you bring that up because, like, so along with the lines of the communication thing, I do remember, like, back in the day, like, how they say, like, perception is reality or whatever. I used to
Yeah,
hate that. I
yeah,
really used to hate that because then if you look like you're going to sleep, and if you have your head down like this, they just start yelling at you. But you could be doing work, you could be writing things, but instead of like communicating and trying to find out what you're doing, you know, they just go straight to yelling back in the day. So
yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah. That's one of the
Yeah.
things, why I try to be careful of, right? Is like, if a sailor does get in trouble or if they're having a hard time at work, there's, at the end of the day, as a leader, you have to find out what's going on, right? Like, gone are the days, or at least I hope so, is where you can just like yell at somebody and just like knife
Yeah.
hand everybody left and right, without knowing all the facts. I think that's, and I've seen that, amongst the fellow chiefs and other leaders. We're I think we're doing a little better now, in asking those questions as far as like what's causing them, right, to have these issues or difficulties with work.
Yeah. That's definitely a step forward.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Yep. Um, so now that you're close to retiring, um, do you have any plans? Like what you're, like when you get out, like what are you gonna do?
Yeah, you know, glad you asked that question, because honestly, when I was up for chief the first time, what was that, like 2016? Um, I didn't make it that first time. And for some reason, for me, right, like I started thinking about like life after service, like what do I plan on doing, right?
Yeah.
And so, that search or that question kind of just led to what I'm doing now, on top of, serving in the military, which is, with Florida Set Fidelis, the podcast, Brave and Faithful podcast. Instead of, because I've noticed, with friends that have separated, or other service members who separated, they start thinking about that when it's too, not necessarily when it's too late, but I guess they didn't have that foresight, or didn't really think about that until they got out, right? I wanted to do something, to start something while I was in. That way, by the time I do get out, I have these connections, I have these network of people that I've connected with over the years. And so yeah, that's what kind of led me to starting for Fidelis, and then the podcast. Definitely, I want to continue with interviewing service members, veterans, military spouses. I want to continue doing this, but then also building my business, coaching and consulting, and wherever that may lead to, amongst other things, right? So
Yeah. So maybe it gets a little personal here, but so you do have a family, right? Wife,
yeah,
kid,
2 kids.
two kids, right? Yeah. And so how have they been kind of taking your service? I mean, I'm sure you're like away a lot of times. Wife stays home.
Yeah.
She got to watch the kids, and I think you said you brought your parents along too now. How is that going? Balancing your work life with your family life as a service member all these years.
Yeah, that's a good question. Honestly, on my 15-year mark, after I picked up chief, I honestly thought about just getting out. This was after our firstborn, after we had our firstborn, and the reason for that was, 15 years, 5 more years to go, depending on how you look at it, right? That could be 5 quick years or 5 long years. But for me, right, like, I saw my peers, and they when they had families during these deployments, it kind of, not all of them, but some of them, it kind of tore them apart with the deployments, and just the cycle that we were going through during that time. And I didn't want that for my family. I wanted to make sure I had the time to spend more time with them. And I did actually think about getting out at that time, and my wife was the one that convinced me to stay in. But yeah, I think for me, it's all about just time management, with still serving and doing the podcast and business, and then obviously having a family with a 3-year-old and now a 10-month-old. It's a lot of, there's really a lot of people would think there's like work-life balance and whatnot. I mean, for me, it's like whatever I'm doing at that moment, I know that time's not being spent with, that time's not being spent with my family, whether I'm at work or if I'm doing this. But to me, it just comes down to managing your time and just making sure that, yes, I'm doing other things, but also making that time for them, to make sure that, hey, daddy's here, daddy's, still cares, and obviously wants to spend more time with them as much as I can.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of juggling involved.
Yeah.
With your family and the military in general.
Yeah.
So that's it's really good to have like a partner too. Your partner just kind of like takes up a lot of the slack when you're gone, and working pretty much as a team. So that's really important.
How's
So
I want to ask you, like, how's you're a veteran, but now you're also a dependent, right? Like with your
yeah,
with your wife
yeah,
still serving. How's
yeah.
that?
My wife, Yeah, I don't know. It's like it's been this way for a while. So I don't even think about it anymore. You know, we've been together, we've been married like 11 going on 12 years now.
Mm.
And initially really um we were supposed to get out like pretty much together, but when we found out she was pregnant, she decided to stay in. So from then on, we knew that since she's the one that's staying in, I was like, well, you're the main effort. So it has to be that way.
Yeah.
So when she has work, when she has field ops, when she has deployments, you know, there's no way around it. I have to take care of the kids. And it's still rewarding, you know, it's my kids, you know, it's my sons. We have two now.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's been fun because it's not that hard of a job, I would say.
Yeah.
I just fuck around with my kids all day, you know. We try to like you know, like if I'm not working or something, like we'll go ride bikes, we'll go freaking play sports, we'll go to the fucking beach, you know. So I don't know, I think it's kind of fun, you know, in a lot of sense. And
Yeah.
then, you know, and it takes a lot of weight off my wife's shoulders, knowing that, hey, she could leave the kids with me and not have to worry about me killing them or like,
Yeah.
like just, keep them alive, you know,
Yeah.
food, water.
Yeah, you're engaged, and yeah, I can't wait to do that. After
Yeah, it's great,
retirement, to spend that
especially
much
as
time.
they get older, you know,
Yeah.
start getting into sports. And I know you're a girl dad. Uh, girls, you know, you're gonna have to do some gymnastics with them or something. So I can't wait to see the videos of you in a leotard or something.
I'm gonna get him. I'm gonna get him into MMA. I'm still jujitsu or
There you go.
something.
There you go. That's cool too. Girls, girls are. My son was doing jujitsu. I still do it too, but the girls are definitely. They have the most beautiful technique usually
Yeah.
in jujitsu class. You know, girls, the boys they want to just kill each other usually, but girls they take their time and it's like they flow a lot better than the guys. I would say.
Okay.
So
Okay.
yeah, so girls are definitely it's a really good martial art for girls and women. Um, so like we said, you've been around 18 years. You know,
Yeah.
you have these plans to get out, and you have these plans to do things when you do get out. Um, what would you say your time in service, like what experiences do you think would help you, you know, once you get out, like all that time you spent in the military, you know,
Yeah.
how do you think your skills would be an asset to you once you do get out? Like which elements of that?
Yeah. For anyone serving, I think there's plenty of advantages, skill sets that you've acquired in the military that will lead to advantages once you get out and into the civilian workforce, right? Whether you want to work for a company or have a business, be an entrepreneur, whatever that may be. I think for me, the most important thing is the leadership experience that I've had, and it's in many different leadership in many different environments, right? Leadership during deployments, in clinic and hospitals, leadership on a ship, like all that stuff, all the experience that the experience that I've had has made me who I am today, and I've made me more confident in knowing who I am and what I'm doing and what I can offer. Uh, to a company or to a business, whatever that may be. I think it's just the confidence that I've gained and the leadership experience that I've had in the military that will be beneficial once I retire.
Yeah, definitely. like a lot of the things that comes with getting out as a civilian too. Like, I don't know. I don't want to seem like to be cocky or anything, but as you know, like, in case everybody doesn't know, we went to like 2 combat deployments,
Yeah.
and a lot of the stuff that we saw in deployment kind of numbed me to a lot of non-emergency things
Yeah.
as a civilian. You know what I mean? Like, if things are going down and there's an emergency at work, uh, I feel like it's not an emergency. It's just you're just going on about it.
People
I don't know
make
if
it
it's
as
a
emergency. Yeah.
yeah. I don't know if it's a coping thing or or I don't know. And it's like, and my wife will always tell me, it's like, why? How are you so chill about, when things go wrong? Like, I don't know. Just I have 10 fingers and 10 toes. I'm still here. I'm happy. I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah. I agree with that, like perspective, like what's an emergency, what's not. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, I agree with you. And I think also I was talking to another veteran on another podcast episode, and they said something similar, right? Like the things that you experience while you serve, especially during combat deployments, you get that high, and then you get out and you're not serving anymore, and there's nothing that you will ever experience will ever compare to that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's
it's
kind of weird.
yeah.
It's also, I think it might be a gift and a curse because a lot of times it's like, man, you know, like it'll get you through a lot of hardships because it's not as bad as combat. But at the same time, you seem apathetic
Yeah.
to a lot of things, and I don't know.
But also that's like the issue, right? Like nowadays is like when people get out, and obviously that's big issue right now is suicide rate amongst veterans, right? That's a
Yeah.
contributing factor as far as like, once they get out, some find, or some might not find that next mission, or might not have that purpose anymore as to what they had in the military.
Yeah. Yeah, there is kind of like that empty void when you first get out,
Yeah.
and you do miss it. And unless you fill it with something positive and you kind of keep digging in that hole, and
Yeah.
obviously a lot of it is uh, compounded by alcoholism and drugs and stuff like that. And now that you're out, no, you're not pissing in a cup anymore. It's like you're kind of free to do whatever.
Yeah.
So it definitely does compound all that. And especially the service members who get out, they don't have the same kind of support as some members who kind of like have a supportive family or readily available friends and all that stuff. That also is another contributing factor to that. So it's definitely hard when you first get out, you know. So um so what would you say is one of the worst moments or worst experience you had while serving? I mean, it's 18 years, it's a long time. It's
Yeah.
probably a whole like laundry list, but what's like maybe a couple top 2, top 3 things?
I mean, definitely worse experiences, during our second deployment. Um, you know, I know, losing guys, losing Marines, losing a sailor, a fellow corpsman, right? Like me personally, losing one of my Marines while we were out on patrol. That was probably like, uh, that was probably like the worst experience, worst day that I've had in the military.
That was out at the BP, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I remember that day. Um, what do you think is the most rewarding part of your service?
Mm. I think for me right now, the most rewarding is just being as a leader in the Navy is just for me passing on the knowledge and the experience that I've gained over this 18 plus years, right? And then just passing that along to the next generation, the future of the Navy. You know, the Navy has come a long way as far as like these leadership development courses, uh, and one of the things that we have now is the Navy leadership development course that just started a couple years ago. A lot of things that we talk about is new things, and it's new ways. It's more facilitating rather than instructing, and just passing on that knowledge and experience to them, and then also just hearing the younger generations viewpoints and you know, just their thoughts and ideas. It's just, I think that's rewarding, right? Like knowing that I think the Navy will be, yes, it's a different generation, because you know, there's always like the generation that comes before us that's always talking about like how weak or how soft we are.
Yeah.
That's like the saying, right? Like people were all getting weak and soft, whatever, right? um but I think sailors now, they're more intelligent than ever, because you know, with technology and everything readily available, uh you know, they know more than what we knew back then. So
Yeah, they do. They're definitely better equipped, better trained.
yeah.
Yeah, and I was telling this with one of the I was talking to one of the corpsmen I was working with too. I was like, yeah, definitely. Like he was saying something about how like, oh yeah, they don't really know anything, like kind of unsure of himself. And I was like, well, back in the day, we were also very unsure about
Yeah,
ourselves. But at least now you have like a lot of the basic stuff covered, like everybody knows a T-Triple-C was. And then I told them, I was like, we didn't even have cat tourniquets. Like we went through field med and it was like a cravat.
yeah,
We had
we
a
had
cravat
a wooden
and
stick or
a wooden stick
a
and
Gatorade ring.
a Gatorade ring, right? It
Yeah,
was like, and he was like, what? It's like, you didn't have the cat tourniquet? It's like, yeah. And it's like, you had to carry those around. I'm like, yeah, we had to carry those around. We had to make them and carry those around. It was like,
I don't think we
so
got that until like the second deployment it was issued.
yeah, it was only like until the second deployment. Even then, it was like at the end of the second deployment, I feel like,
Yeah,
I still had the cravats like
yeah,
well into it. So I was like, it was like, you guys are definitely well equipped and, and even as quad zeros, because they know about T-Triple-C now. Like they know how to triage under combat, scenarios as quad zeros.
yeah.
That was never a thing back in early 2000, so
Yeah, quad zeros, field medical technicians, and T-Triple-C tactical combat casualty care for those
yeah.
that don't know.
But yes, for those listening. Um, so do you have any advice you want to, my curtain just fell.
No, you're good.
Yeah, we just moved in, so like a lot of things are not set up right. So
It's all good.
um you have any advice for the audience? Give any like tidbits to like keep them going out there, help them with their careers or their endeavors or anything like that.
Yeah, I mean, you know, for those that are still in or still serving, right? Like, no matter what branch you're serving in, like, take as much as you can from it. Like, learn as much as you can from the experience that you have. You know, like, you know, you hear a lot of things where, like, you know, people might, you know, have that mindset of like, you know, they want to get out, or you can't wait to get out. You know, while you're in, like, take as much as you can from the time that you're serving in the military, right? Like, there's so many programs, there's so many things that the military that can offer you that are very beneficial for your future. You know, with TA, tuitions assistance, the Navy Cool or Marine Cool, credentialing, online learning, certifications that you guys can get. Like, do what you can now while you're still serving to help you, help you be more competitive for, your future outside of the military.
Cool. Um, so what do you what's the one thing that you want viewers to take away from this podcast right now, from this episode?
I asked that question is like, if I was to answer that, what would I say?
Yeah, I know. You say it all the
Uh,
time, and
yeah.
now you're in the hot seat, Mr.
Yeah. For me, man, like when I first started the podcast, or when I first started like Fortis et Fidelis, like I didn't know anything. Like I didn't know the stuff that I know now, but like I did research. Google was my friend at that time. Google, YouTube, right? Like nowadays with technology, you know, I know it's cliche or as corny as it sounds, but you can look up anything. You can do it. Like you can do anything that you put your mind to, if that's what you want to do, right? I think with anything, it's all mindset, right? If you want to start a podcast, if you want to be a personal trainer, whatever goal that you have, like there's so many tools, there's so many resources out there, especially for the veterans that are listening. There's so many nonprofits and organizations that are willing to help you out, and you can just go through the some of the shows, the episodes, all these leaders and founders of these nonprofits and these organizations that are willing to help you, reach out to them. Like there's social media, there's email, there's so many ways that you can reach out to them and just find out how they can help you. And yeah, I think that's it. Just reach out, ask for help.
Definitely good advice. So real quick before we go, some quick fast 5 questions. I'm
Oh, here
sure
we
you
go.
know this.
Yeah.
Okay, what's a hobby you enjoy?
Um, Man, hobby other than podcasting, probably just I do a lot of reading now. I do a lot of yeah, try to read at least 10 pages a day. So that's other than podcasting and spending time with my family, reading.
Yeah,
It's boring, boring life.
yeah. Well, boring's good sometimes, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. Uh, so if you could choose one person to hang out with, dead or alive, who?
Yeah, that's a tough one. Off the top of my head, probably good old Abraham Lincoln.
Honest Abe.
Honest Abe. Just
Yeah.
just
What
wanted
is it?
to.
What is it about Abe, you think?
Yeah, I mean, like before he got into politics, he didn't come from like an affluent family, right? He kind of worked his way up to, to be a lawyer and to be have that political career and eventually become our president, right? And obviously, with what he had to deal with during the Civil War, during his term, just going through all that, and then abolishing slavery and the Civil War. It's just like I just wanted. I don't know how that conversation would be, but like I just want to know like how he was able to do that, and what made him, the mindset that he had, and that allowed him to persevere through that time.
Mm, yeah, he did. He did seem like he had a lot of drive,
Yeah,
you know.
yeah,
So you said you're a reader.
yeah,
Recommended book for the audience.
yeah. I got some here. I got
Oh, there you go. He's ready.
Yeah, I'm ready. So first one, I got two. It's called,
What
for
is it?
those if you're watching, it's called Man Up. It's by Bedros Keuilian. He's the founder and owner of the fitness franchise, Fit Body Bootcamp. So like me, he was an immigrant. He immigrated here while early in his childhood, and kind of just became self-made entrepreneur and multimillionaire. And now he's kind of like helping others with their coaching, consulting, and helping them rise to his level. And then another one that I just started reading last year was it's called Atomic Habits. It's by James Clear. Yeah, this book, man, I think this book will change your life as far as like what you can achieve and what you can do, and then building those habits to create a better life and future for you and your family.
Okay, so number 4, favorite quote.
Yeah, favorite quote. I don't know who. I was reading somewhere. I think it was Socrates or Plato, but and it's not verbatim, but for me, it's like, if there's one thing I know, is that I don't know nothing.
Oh, the one. Oh, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah,
I know what that one. Yeah,
it's
it's like
something like that. But for me, like, I said that during my first interview. Like, there's one thing I know, is that I know nothing. Like, just
yeah.
being humble enough to, like I said, ask for help, or look up the answers or questions that you have, and then just being in the mindset of like, you're not going to know everything, you're not going to know all the answers, but it's just being humble enough, and also looking for the people or the resources, whatever that may be, to answer the questions that you have, or whatever assistance that you can provide for your sailors.
Okay. And last question, where do you see yourself in 5 to 10 years?
5 to 10 years, man. So 5 years I'll be retired.
Yeah, 5 years you'll be retired.
Way less than that. I'll be in Jacksonville, Florida, down there, doing my coaching consulting business, continuing with the podcast, either having somebody else as a co-host, or have somebody else host the podcast.
Brave and Faithful, like number 1 on Spotify, and
Yeah.
number 2 is Joe Rogan.
Continue to
Right?
have those accolades that I've
Like, you're beating Joe Rogan on the Spotify. 10
that's
years.
that's more than 10 years for me. But yeah, just be down there in Jacksonville, Florida with my family, spending as much time as I can with them, and then hopefully in 10 years, creating that generational wealth for my family and my kids. Continue to invest in real estate. Hopefully that will get me there. And yeah, hopefully setting up like either some sort of foundation or nonprofit to help those in need.
All right, good to go. Well, that'll conclude the podcast for today. I'm Louie.
What's up, guys? Reden. You guys know. Make sure you guys,
the one and only.
Make sure you guys check out the podcast. Continue to follow us, support us. Fortis F Fidelis. Find us on social, Instagram, Facebook, and yeah, appreciate all your support.
Deuces.
All right, y'all. Take care.